If you want some bullshit, keep scrolling. But if you want some real shit, then stay right here because this might be some of the realest shit that I've said on video. You're never gonna be your own man. And I'll tell you why. This for all my partners out there and guys out there that, you know, they say they want to be their own man. You know, I don't want shit to do with anything anybody else got going on, anything anybody else is talking about. I'm my own man, right? And that's a good way to think. That's what you should strive to be. Every man, everyone really should strive to be their own person in general. But, every man in particular wants to be his own man. I mean, that's the goal from the beginning, you know, from the time, you're a child, you want to grow up, get out of your parents' house, right? Go get out into the world, get your own experiences, you know, uh, get in your profession, you know, uh, lock down, what you can lock down, and then get out there and stake your own claim and be your own man and live by your own rules, right? Nobody wants to be under someone else's foot for the rest of their life, but it doesn't play out that way. And the reason is because as you were visualizing all the things you were going to do as you got older on this path to being your own man, society was training you how to be just another sheep in the herd. I mean, from as long as I can remember, all the way back to kindergarten, preschool, right? You're taught the acceptable way to do things, the acceptable way to socialize, to be a team player, and to play nice, and to be considerate of others, and all of those things. While they're good on the surface, um, and on the surface appear to be, a good way to be, it's not necessarily conducive to developing yourself as an individual, right? And so that goes on and all the way through grade school and middle school and high school and college and the workplace, right? In the family, in public settings, how to act accordingly, what to say, when not to say it, how to say it. All of the different categories that you're put into through social systems, through culture, through politics, through race, through religion, um, in romantic relationships, right? These are all boxes because you always have to consider that and those that are outside of yourself. See, being your own man, in my opinion, is to be truly free, right? Free from the restraints of groupthink, of societal norms, of religious dogma, of cultural biases and conditions and traditions, um, race and religious institutions and all of that stuff. See, from the time you're a child, you get put under an or else way of conditioning, right? There's two things that you learn very young: what you better do or else, and what you better not do or else, right? When I was coming up, for example, my mother may tell me, you need to knock out your chores or else. That's what you better do. When you go to school, what you better not do is bring me anything less than a B on your report card or else, right? When you grow up, when you get into, high school, college, so on and so forth, in the workplace, you live in a constant state of or else. Eventually, when you get into relationships, as far as significant others and things like that, there is an or else. There's an or else factor, right? That is basically agreed upon by your understanding of what the relationship is based on. And of course that goes into, you and your significant other's beliefs and backgrounds and a whole bunch of other different things that fall into it. But there's, when you break that, if you break from that in any way, those expectations, there's a consequence to that, usually negative. So you live under an or else with your spouse, and it doesn't matter who you are in the relationship, right? You're not truly free to be you because naturally you have another person to consider. When you become a parent, yeah, your kids aren't in charge of you, but they do heavily dictate the way you move in life, right? And there are consequences, so to speak, if you don't move accordingly. That job that you would have quit and gave your boss the finger and walked out the door, you can't do that now. You got 3 kids to feed, right? And so that boss, this causing you mental abuse and stressing you and making you feel smaller than you should feel. and all of those different things, makes you dread waking up in the morning or whatever like that. Um, that's a toll on your soul that you pay because you now have to consider your children, right? So you're constantly in some sort of a box, right? And that's, like I said, that's the relationship aspect, that's the parent aspect, right? The religious aspect, right? For those who practice any organized religion out there, right? The one that I grew up in is, you better believe in this or you'll go to hell, right? That's the or else. There's certain commandments and statutes and ways to live and just to carry yourself in life, or else in the afterlife you'll get a rude awakening, right? So that keeps you in a box. Um, even your culture or your race or nationality, right? Like right now, you know, I'm not. I have no loyalty to a certain party, right? I don't even play the games, right? But there's consequences for black people who voted Republican, and especially for Donald Trump, amongst other black people, right? The Democratic Party makes black people feel obligated to give them their vote and their loyalty, even though they've never given us a tangible damn thing since the 60s, right? But, since that's the tradition and that's the culture, you better get with the rest of the group or else be shunned, be outcast, be labeled, right? On the flip side of that coin, if you do decide to be on the other side of the fence, then you get judged for being on the other side of the fence. Even though in my lifetime, neither political party has really done anything significant as far as genuinely and meaningfully doing something to make amends for nearly 500 years of every single type of degradation possible. We're basically just told to get over it and be happy for how far we've come, right? So you can't even be your own man politically. Speaking of politically, hell, Barack Obama couldn't even be his own man. And he was the president of the United States. Most powerful man on the planet. Doesn't get no more powerful than the planet or than the president, right? Allegedly. I call bullshit on that. See, being your own man is in direct correlation with power. And if you don't have real power, it doesn't even matter what office you hold. You can't be your own man then. Barack Hussein Obama had to walk on eggshells. He had to walk on eggshells. He had to be the most graceful, most dignified, most articulate, most tolerant, most level-headed president that I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I wouldn't doubt in the history of this country. They still shit on him. Shit on his wife, shit on his kids. I'm talking about he had zero scandals. None. You cannot think of a Barack Obama scandal off the top of your head. Yet the current administration, there's never a dull moment, is there? It's action-packed. Scandal after scandal and rumors of scandals and alleged scandals. And meetings about secret meetings that happened at secret places and all of that. But you know what? Him and his whole regime can tell the whole world on camera to practice safe sex and go fuck themselves. Why? Because they have power. And they can be unapologetic about it. See, unlike Barack Obama, Donald Trump can be his own man, right? Whether you agree with whatever kind of man that is or whatever, that's neither here nor there. The point is, he can be his own man, right? And so that's why I say, unless you have power, unless you can remove yourself from all those boxes that society puts you in, basically from the moment that you're born until they put you in that last final box, you're never going to be your own man. You'll never even be your own person in general. Unfortunately, life is so short, and society is set up in such a way where you don't even have time to even know who you are in the first place. You got bills to pay. You ain't got time to sit around and ponder and try to figure out who the hell you are. That don't put food on the table. That don't keep the lights on. Don't keep gas in your automobile. And that's by design. So the best thing, I guess, any man can do is own what you can take ownership of, right? And that's up here. That's in here. And that's what you use your time to do. How you manage your day. Every day that you get. Because freedom is the goal. Being truly free, that's what being your own man is about. But unless you have the power to do it, right, which essentially would make you above the law, which none of us is, at least not us common folk, right? Not us 99% anyway, right? And unless you have the means and the backing to do that, you'll never truly be your own man. So yeah, just something, something for you to chew on. Chew on it for a while because it's a hard pill to swallow for most, right? That delusion of being your own man is exactly that. So when you look at it in the true sense. So yeah, that's what we can do, is just take ownership of that which we can truly have ownership of. And that is it. Anything outside of that ain't gonna happen. And that is true freedom. Self-mastery and total control over that which you can control. All right, I'll holler at y'all next time I got some shit to